Okay, with the poppy, with the trollsy.
All right, well,
All right.
happy full moon in Scorpio.
Happy
Uh,
full moon in Scorpio to you.
So, I guess I'll start off by saying for the homework, we're basically s- looking at the full moon in Scorpio, May 12th, 2025 at 11:55 a.m. And then we're going to look at my natal chart. And once we do this, first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the full moon and what degree and angle it's in, as well as the rising. So, for the full moon in Scorpio, located in Central Standard Time, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, or Chicago, the ascendant is Leo, and Mars at 11 degrees and 9 arc minutes. And the moon in Scorpio is in the fourth house at 22 degrees and 12 arc minutes. Scorpio is also, as an honorable mention, is in the third house with Vesta at 9 degrees and 35 arc minutes, as well as Scorpio being in the fourth house with Juno at 24 degrees and 39 arc minutes. And we're going to go back and look at my natal chart, and we find that a Leo is in the second house and Jupiter at 7 degrees and 35 arc minutes. Honorable mention, Leo is also in the third house at 24 degrees, no planets. Scorpio is located in my fifth house, and Pluto at 18 degrees and 38 arc minutes. From there, we're going to head
One
to,
moment. I have a question.
sure,
Okay, so today is the full moon in Scorpio,
correct.
right? And if I could go over what it is that you just said to verify what it is that I'm hearing, is that okay with you?
Sure.
So I'm hearing you say that today is the full moon in Scorpio. And what degree is the moon full in Scorpio?
Um, the full moon in Scorpio is at 22 degrees and 12 arc minutes.
22 degrees and 12 arc minutes. Okay, perfect. And today is May 12th,
Correct.
obviously 2025. And what time is it happening in Wisconsin?
11:55 a.m.
11:55 a.m.
Correct.
And what zodiac sign is rising in degree?
The ascending is Leo and Mars at 11 degrees and 9 arc minutes.
Well, hang on. You're giving me too much information. It would be what zodiac sign is rising?
Leo.
Okay, what degree?
The Leo degree is 18 degrees and 54 arc minutes.
Okay, so we got the full moon in Scorpio at 22 degrees, 12 arc minutes, happening at 11:55 a.m. in Wisconsin, which
Right.
produces 18 degrees and 54 arc minutes of Leo to be ascending.
Right. That makes sense.
Okay. And so there's a couple of features that we're doing here. Correct me if I'm wrong with the homework. We're plugging Leo into your natal chart to see how this full moon and the mask of the full moon is being interpreted. And we're looking at the planetary ruler of Leo, correct?
Right. So that was my next statement before we took a briefing, and you were aligning with what I was saying, right? So,
Okay.
with that being said, the ascendant is in Leo at 9 degrees and 11 arc, at 11 degrees and 9 arc minutes, right? So, we
Wait a
want to
minute.
look.
You said 18 degrees and 54 arc minutes, I thought.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm thinking of Leo and Mars. Excuse me.
Okay.
Uh, 18 degrees and 54 arc minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to go look for the natal sun because the sun is the planetary ruler of Leo. So my natal sun is in the 11th house in Gemini at 0 degree and 57 arc minute, right?
Okay.
And then the moon So
Oh,
then
before we
what
do that, before we go into that, what does that say to you? Because that right there is a piece of information that could add into some of the coloring of what this full moon would bring in regards to the Leo rising.
well, what that's saying to me with the Leo ascendant with Mars in the first house for the
Okay, pardon
the
me. Pardon me. Leave Mars to the side for the moment.
okay.
Only the Leo rising and how that disposits into the sun in Gemini with its house location.
Okay. So with Leo, for me, what I'm feeling is it's going to be something about how I'm seen in the public, have something to do with communication, the way that I express myself with boldness, leadership, courageousness, really just connecting with people on the way that I present myself and how I connect with the divine, like bringing my spirituality and my communication in the forefront with people in the public.
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When we look at your astrological chart, where would Leo be? Where does Leo fall? What house?
Leo is located in my second house in Jupiter.
Okay,
But
let's
leave
leave the
Jupiter out of
planet.
it. I got you.
Yeah,
I
because
got
we want to keep it as simple as possible. So, as a Cancer rising, you're saying that Leo is your second house in your
yes.
astrological chart. So, with the full moon happening in Leo rising, do you think that the second house could be something of significance for you with this full moon in Scorpio?
Yes, I definitely seen it be about self-worth, um, finances, maybe financial expansion, using my voice with clarity, having to take a lot of introspection to actually exert myself out to the world and what that means within community and friendship and just how I carry myself, confidence.
I can see with the in your astrological chart as a Cancer rising, Leo being the second house is activated, and there's also a connecting piece to your natal sun in Gemini
Yes,
in the 11th house.
and based off of the whole signs chart, it's just Leo in the second house, but I also have Leo in the third house, so it has something to do with community, communication, siblings, stuff that's been happening since my cousin passed. So I'm having to face these certain type of positions of leadership with taking on different things within my family.
I see. So Leo is rising at the time of the full moon in your location, keeping the planetary rulership or looking at the planetary rulership, the transiting sun. Where is the transiting sun located in connection to your astrological chart? What house does it fall in?
Where is the transiting sun? The transiting sun is also is in the 10th house.
What sign?
And Taurus at 22 degrees and 12 arc minutes.
Okay, so the sun is at 22 degrees 12 arc minutes, and the moon is at 22 degrees 12 arc minutes of Scorpio. Sun in Taurus, moon in Scorpio, 2212, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you're saying that 22 degrees 12 arc minutes of Taurus is located in what house for you in your chart?
22 degrees and Taurus for me.
Yes, 22 degrees and 12 arc minutes of Taurus falls into what house for you in your chart?
Taurus is located in my 11th house.
Okay. So what
Um,
do you think that this might um add into the equation with Leo rising at the time of the full moon and the sun being the ruler of Leo and the transiting sun being in Taurus in your 11th house? What do you think could transpire or be interpreted with this energetic and dynamic astrologically
run
and
that
applied
back
to your
one
life?
more time. I'm sorry.
Okay, we're running. So Leo is rising at the time of the full moon, where in your
Hmm.
location. So we're paying attention to Leo. Leo is significant, right? We recognize that Leo is your second house in your astrological chart, so it deals with finances and values.
Right.
The sun is the ruler of Leo.
Right.
And so we're locating to see where the sun is located in your astrological chart. The sun is currently in Taurus right now.
Right.
So we're looking to see where Taurus is located in your astrological chart.
So Taurus is in my
And
11th.
we find it.
Taurus is in my 11th house at 7 degrees and 15 arc seconds.
Well, 22 degrees and 12 arc minutes is where the transiting sun is today for the full moon.
Correct.
So we're locating where 22 degrees and 12 arc minutes of Taurus is in your astrological. What house does it fall in? That actual degree would align with a specific house.
I don't have any 22 degree with the 12 arc minute. I do have a 22 degree with a 29 arc minute.
Okay, so I want to show you something here. So maybe this is not the best charting for that, but we're going to use it for the sake of the conversation. So if you look here, you can see that, well, let's see.
I see you're pointing at Vesta within the 11th house.
Yeah, I don't want to look at the Vesta. I'm looking at the outer rim here. What number do you see here?
I see 12
In the
degrees. 12
in the
degrees.
shaded area, you see Taurus. You see a number on each side of the symbol of Taurus.
Yes, 12 degrees and 7 arc minutes.
Okay, so 12 degrees of 7 arc minutes of Taurus is here, and 12 degrees and 7 arc minutes of Gemini is here, correct?
Correct.
In this chart, right. So 22 degrees of Taurus would fall in alignment right here, and it would be in alignment with the 10th house
Okay.
because it encompasses this compartment. From 7 degrees of Taurus to 7 degrees Gemini, 22 degrees of Taurus would be in alignment like right here, which aligns with the 10th house. So I'm asking you, if 22 degrees and 12 arc minutes, which one of the houses does it fall in alignment with? Even if you don't have any particular planets there, that's okay.
It will fall in alignment with my 4th house.
Fourth?
Yep.
22 degrees of Taurus is in your 4th house. That's impossible.
The reason
Because
I
you're a
said
Cancer
that,
rising. Hang on a second. Let's pull this chart back up here. You're a Cancer rising.
right.
So the 12th house would be Gemini, because going in order, it goes Cancer, Gemini, Taurus. Look at me for a moment. Cancer would be here for you.
Right.
Gemini would be here, and Taurus would be here. The 4th house is way down here.
Correct.
So Taurus cannot be in the 4th house if you being a Cancer rising. It would have to be here-ish, because this is Cancer rising, and then backwards one sign would be Gemini, and then backwards another sign would be Taurus.
Okay.
Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay, so 22 degrees and 12 arc minutes of Taurus aligns with what house compartment for you as a Cancer rising?
I'm guessing you're insinuating the 11th house, but I'm getting confused simply because when I look at the perimeters, it's at 27 degrees in Aries, and then from 27 degrees in Aries, it goes to 7 degrees in Gemini. So when I look in my 11th house, and so when you ask me the question, and I
Mhm.
have 21 degrees and 31 arc minutes in Virgo and the 4th house, it was insinuating that 22 degrees was closer to the 4th house. So my apologies. Pardon me. Excuse me.
Yeah, there's no reason to be sorry for that. It's just a matter of knowing the house. And that's what I was sharing with you before. When you're utilizing the equal, the whole sign, and the Placidus house system, it can get kind of confusing when you get the juggling between the different house systems.
Got you.
So when you first start off with astrology, for anybody who's listening to this, it's good to start off with the whole sign house system. I myself, I use whole sign and equal house system, but I started off with the equal house system
Okay.
because it breaks the houses or divides the houses into equal parts, starting with the degree, like I have in or like is situated in this astrological chart here.
Okay. So, did I answer your question? It would be the 11th house, correct?
It's the 11th house, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so with the sun in the 11th house, what could you interpret as an importance with this full moon in Scorpio?
I think I've already said it. Um,
Mhm.
but I told you when it comes to my public appearance, the type of connections or the group of people that I'll be around in the public, it'll be me asserting myself with communication, bold expression, courageousness, confidence, and just being um, stepping into my truth, but expressing it outwardly or holding space for people outwardly or connecting with people outwardly in in the type of circles that I'm coming across through short time travel, or if that's the family members I'm around, or just anywhere that I am. If I'm in Chicago, Milwaukee, Indiana, it's about me connecting with people and actually shining a light on that aspect because a lot of
Let's go.
people,
I said, let's go.
yeah, because a lot of people right now, when I go around people, they keep on like, I keep on hearing like my light is shining so bright and they can feel my aura or what like that I'm divinely guided or sent at this time or like it's just some level of magnetism that is happening, and then I'm actually educating, expressing myself, singing. Because like for Mother's Day, we weren't into the full moon already, but me, my mom, and my daughter, and two of her friends, we're all in the house from like 12:30 a.m. until 4:30 a.m. singing karaoke. So I'm using my voice. I'm in the public. I'm connecting with my mom, who's a Taurus, you know, and this is
Happy birthday to mom.
yeah, yeah, Ashe. So yes, that's what I would say that's gonna be happening. It's been happening.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you noticed about the charts that stuck out to you?
Um, I noticed that this is a huge time for transformation. Just talking about the Scorpio aspect and me having to declutter and detox old debris or old ways of thinking. Simply because with me having Scorpio in the fifth house, right? And I was just talking about the way that I've had fun singing, going out to eat, reconnecting with my mom, the transformation of my cousin, right? That put me in a position of leadership to like handle all of the funeral arrangements. It actually felt like a wave of relief this weekend from last weekend, and like it starts showing me different dynamics, like a shift in energy from being in sorrow and having to hold space for my family, and now shifting the lens to me and my daughter connecting on a deeper level because with Scorpio in the fifth house, my daughter being a Scorpio rising, my daughter really surprised me to be 7, and she basically surprised me with a picture from school with a homemade card saying "I love mom."
Oh,
And then my daughter orchestrated a whole surprise for me with my mom, with me not knowing. So she came with double gifts, and they got me flowers, a vegan cupcake, watermelon, so they know I love fruit. And it was just like my daughter did all this creativity within this aspect of showing up. We're singing, we're out having fun, and it really broadened my awareness on how these aspects are transiting in my life as of current, and then where I just came from last week.
So I want to interrupt you for a moment. Look at how the full moon is in Scorpio in the fifth house. And in astrology, the fifth house is the house of children.
Right.
And I was thinking about how you saying you were with your mom and kind of that's a transformation. Your daughter, you, and your mom. Notice how the transformation in your inner world of recognizing how you used to be a child to your mom and now you have a child, like that whole um
Hmm.
looking at yourself before and after, like looking at you as your mom and looking at yourself as your child too. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, three
Like that's a
generations.
trend,
Because
right?
it's
That's a
like
trans.
it's a huge transformation. I get what you're saying. It's like past my mom, present me, future my daughter, and it's all happening on the same wavelength simultaneously. Like we all had that experience together.
And at the same time that that's happening, notice how the fifth house is the house of children.
Mhm.
Notice how the fifth house is the house of creativity. So your daughter, which is a child, who was creative and stepped into her sense of creativity with your mom pouring out, showing her love, which is fifth house, right?
Mhm.
In addition to that, Leo is rising, which is the sign of child and children, right? So you
Mhm.
see this child, children, creativity,
Because it
right?
belongs
And
Leo belongs to the fifth house. Yes, yes.
right.
Mhm.
So just notice and acknowledge these connections that you're making with the house placements as well, because that information is going to be something that you carry with you, like moving forward in times to come in life with circumstances and scenarios and plugging in the information.
Right. That makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
complete sense. And
Um,
so it's been very loving, especially after my cousin passing. Our family is taken from where we were when I last talked to you the last few classes, and where we are now is kind of like me and my mom are transitioning our relationship. Um, and that came from my cousin's death, but I've been talking about her death being a form of transformation and ascension that is calling us to come together. And yeah, I'll digress on that part, but I feel like it's bringing out deep emotion and vulnerability when it comes to creativity, intimacy, and just connecting with people on a deep soul level.
is there anything else that um, comes up for you in the charts?
Um Actually, I pulled there's something else coming up for me. Give me a second.
Okay.
I found it to be interesting. I don't know if it's huge, but the fact that Leo was in Mars, and actually Mars is the planetary ruler of Aries, and me having Aries in 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 the energy or the essence of Taurus with Mercury. I felt like the signs just kept on showing up with one another, like how you just correlated the sun to the fifth house, and then that's connected to the rising. And so for Mars to be with Leo, and then I have Mars in my first house, but to know that I have the energy of Aries in the 11th house by Taurus, it was pointing out for me leadership.
Hmm, interesting. So
So
where is Aries located in your chart? Let's explore that a little bit now that you recognize that. Because that's actually that's very good, Musa. that you did that, actually, because you connected Mars in Leo on the ascendant and connected it to Aries in the 10th house, I think. Is that what you did?
And Aries is like in between the 11th and 10th house. Am I making sense? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? I'm trying to explain this. Hold on.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't know what house system that is. What house system is that?
Tropical and Placidus.
Tropical and Placidus?
It says tropical Placidus.
Yeah, so that's Placidus. I don't know why they said tropical and Placidus because it's both. Yeah, so the Placidus house system is confusing, especially on that program, because that program doesn't show you all the degrees and how it gets the breakdown or the divisions of the signs. They would say that that would be a challenging house system to use to interpret to utilize what we're doing at this time.
Okay.
I would say to use Placidus. I'm not discouraging you from using Placidus house system, but I would use it with like an app like astro.com is great for Placidus because it shows you the degrees and you can get an understanding. I would also offer that you would need to look at the chart and study it with Placidus because the houses vary. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'll come back to that because I'll have to go look up and put in the chart information.
Well, I want to share something with you because with equal house system and whole sign house system, there's a connection between that Mars and Leo in the first house and Aries in the 10th house.
Okay.
So the tenth house, so the 10th house, which is the house of the career and reputation, right, becomes to be significant in your area. And we look to, well, hang on a second. Leo on the ascendant at the time of the full moon puts Aries in the ninth house. Excuse me.
Okay.
So there's a connection between travel and transportation, is what it is.
Right. And I've been noticing that I've been freed up because when Mars was transiting Pisces, I had aspects that were not I wasn't able to move around. And now that Aries is in the ninth house, I am feeling a sense of urgency or action, movement, passion, just having to initiate certain things in a different way than I anticipated. Even the car didn't come through, so it was a negatron on the car. All
But
right.
you still had transportation issues going on with transportation and ninth house things.
Yes, that's true.
That negatronage that you're speaking about with the car,
Yeah, yeah.
the negatronage that you're speaking about with the car is a ninth house thing.
Mhm.
And so you see the connection between Mars on the ascendant at the time of the full moon and the ninth house, Aries.
Yeah.
So look at how Mars on the ascendant with Leo, right, makes a connection to the ninth house Aries and also makes a connection to Scorpio in the fifth.
Right, right. I
So
get you.
your ability to be creative and have a little enjoyment was actually restricted a little bit due to the lack of transportation,
True.
even if it was a tiny bit. You see what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
that's the connection of that. It's how Mars in the astrological chart of the full moon connects to Scorpio in the fifth and Aries in the ninth.
I did take an initiative also with this reading to pull some tarot cards. I just wanted to dive a little deeper to see what would come up energetically with what we're speaking on. Would you like to hear the interpretation of that?
Interpretation of what exactly? What do you?
Of the full moon and how it's transitioning or transiting with my natal chart and what's coming up, but also like just the energy around it, around everything that's happening. Is everything okay? You're back. You were gone for a minute.
Yeah, I pushed a button that was the wrong button to push. So pardon me. I was trying to access the chat. I see people in the chat saying hi, Sadgie B. Saggy baby, I appreciate y'all commenting. I don't know how to comment while I'm doing this thing here, so I'm gonna get better with each and every live. Thank you for being here. If you like the content, hit the like button, subscribe. If you'd like to collab and share some astrology with me, I'm with it. Um, and so we'll do it like that. So, pardon me. Can you repeat again what it is that you're gonna do?
So I was just looking at the energies. I wanted to see how it was current. What was current? What was on my crown thoughts? What was the transition? What's going on with my environment? Seeing if the tarot cards would align with what we're reading.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do tarot. Nothing against tarot cards, but if let's say if you were going to do that, let's work with tarot cards that have to do with Leo, the Sun, Mars, Scorpio, and Aries.
Okay.
Is that something that's possible? Do you see why I'm doing that?
Mhm.
Why am I doing that? Do you think?
Um, you basically would be you're basically doing Leo and the Sun. I mean, that's the planetary rulers. You just named the planetary rulers and the signs that belong to the planetary rulers
Of this chart.
of this chart. Yes, which is
Yeah.
the main three aspects that we're looking at. Um, I have a question with Pluto being with Scorpio in my fifth house in the natal chart. Is there any, should we be looking at Pluto in the full moon chart at all?
Yes, we
Are these,
yes,
are these,
yes, that's a good but well, we're looking at Pluto. We're also looking at Venus too, because Venus is the ruler of the sun. So
Venus?
in actual Venus,
Okay,
because
all right,
the sun is in Taurus at the full moon, the moon is in Scorpio at the full moon, and the ascendant sign for you is Leo. So
sure,
that makes for Venus. It makes for Venus for Taurus, because
right,
Venus is the ruler of Taurus. It makes for Mars and Pluto for Scorpio, and it makes for the Sun because it's the ruler of Leo. So those four planetary stations become significant during this full moon. And looking at these positions in your astrological chart, maybe not everyone who's listening, but for those who live in Wisconsin and along that time zone would work for them,
Central
right?
Standard Time, yeah.
Central. It would also work for the East too, because in my location, I think Leo is rising as well. So the answer to your question, yes, Pluto and Scorpio for you in the fifth house. I would interpret that. I'll give you an opportunity to interpret that. Um,
So, one question.
Go
So
ahead.
basically, what we're doing is we're looking at Pluto and Scorpio in the natal house, and then we're going back to the full moon in Scorpio, and we're looking at the where Pluto is in the full moon chart. And
And
then for Taurus Sun in the full moon chart, we would be going back to look for Venus in my natal chart.
absolutely, and it's called the transit chart. So I don't want to be too crazy on the terminology, but I do because it's important for labeling what it is.
Okay,
So it's the transit chart and the natal chart. We're using those two charts for you in your location to distinguish and determine how to interpret according to these four planetary stations.
okay,
So we can look at Pluto and Scorpio in the natal chart for you. We could look at Pluto and Aquarius in the transit chart,
okay,
because the moon being in Scorpio highlights Mars and Pluto, which are one of the four planetary stations that are highlighted for you. And so that even increases the transformative interpretation of you seeing yourself as a child and seeing yourself as a mother by being with your mother and being with your
you went out, lab, and saying how what? Because you kind of like what? What were you saying? It's like the video keeps pausing. Lab. Am I the only one that sees him freezing? Yeah, this is. It's frozen.
Can you see me now?
Yes, that was a long time with
It
the
was a long
poppy
time. I
hair.
didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. Pardon me. Pardon me. It was it's we get better each and every day. So
So we're going to talk about Pluto and Scorpio in the natal.
Pluto and Scorpio in the natal.
All right, so Pluto and Scorpio in the fifth house, um, with my creativity and half. This is fun to me. Okay, astrology is fun to me. Tarot, the observation of transformation. I really feel like I see people differently with having this aspect in the fifth house when it comes to friends and relationships. A lot of times with Scorpio being death, transformation, financial, it's like I see people's higher self and I see their lower self simultaneously more than people would see. Okay. And then it does have me go deep in depth with my emotions, my feelings, things that I study when I'm doing estate work or trust paperwork, just different, diving into different styles of science that other people don't dive into. That's what I would say about, and I like, and those things are fun to me. Those things are fun for me. Breath work is fun for me. Fasting is fun for me. So, and connecting with my daughter. Um, I love my baby. That's unbootable. But we connect on a very spiritual level too. That's really telepathic. And so that's what I would you like to say anything before we start talking about because that's what the fifth house in Scorpio and Pluto has been for me with my experience. But would you like to add anything before we go to Pluto in the transit chart?
I would like to add how much your child has transformed over the course of the past 2 weeks.
Okay.
Your child has been around death and recognizing that and seeing that and has matured significantly in that regard. It would even be a good idea to have a sit down with your child about what they think from all that's happened. Even if I'm not saying you haven't done that, but it might be a good idea to do that just to sit humbly and peacefully and to see where and what they've received from the entire because you've just done a lot in the past 2 weeks. You see what I'm saying?
Yes. We haven't I can answer this question today. I think that's a great suggestion. I appreciate that. Um, my daughter was the only child around all of her cousins who knew that my cousin committed suicide. For my daughter to be 7 and talking to all the kids about this, 'cause she was like, "Did y'all know?" Like, and they came to me like, "Zanea knows this," and I'm just like, "My daughter is a different breed, man. She's just." I was talking to her father about it. She overheard what I said to her father, and then she's like, "This is what happened to our cousin." You know, it was a lot for me for my daughter to witness that, and then with me handling all the arrangements, the funeral home, the finances, orchestrating for the food and all that stuff. It took a different position where had to see me other people need me, and I could see it was a transformation for her with her used to me being there for her, but having to share my energy with other people, in a situation like this. Because she was acting up a little bit. She only once we got back in our environment and got back in Wisconsin and left Indiana, she switched back and I could see the maturity level in her. But before then, I mean, she even muffed me and I had to whip that butt. But it was a lot going on during that time because she didn't want me telling her cousins her nickname. So it was a lot of transition going on, but I'm definitely gonna ask her how did that make her feel? What is her perception of death? And then with
So
Pluto,
I don't. I want to interrupt you peacefully, respectfully. That applying astrology to real life situation, recognizing that the full moon is in Scorpio in your fifth house, and the transformative and psychological aspects of the child and catering to that is what needs to be nurtured.
okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
And
because
when you talk,
I did talk to her about death in a sense that at one point we all will meet our maker, but this is not her path or the way that she should look about doing it. People go through deep states of depression, anxiety, feeling overwhelmed, they may feel stressed. And I did let her know at every point of her life that she has a open space to talk to me about anything and everything and that I'll always be there for her. So that's essential. I'm definitely gonna do that.
yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited for you to um experience that with your child. All right, so you said you wanted to look at so that was Pluto and Scorpio in the fifth. Pluto is in Aquarius
In the sixth house at 3 degrees and 48 arc
in the
minutes.
sixth house.
Yeah.
Pluto in Aquarius as a Cancer rising, or are you talking about the transit chart?
I'm talking about the transit chart. We're not going to the transit chart yet?
We can go to the transit chart if you like. That's fine.
Okay,
But
so
we're really plugging the transit chart into the natal chart. So let's go to the natal chart. Let's not hover on. That's good. One moment.
but I think Aquarius in the 8th house.
One moment, Musa. Pardon me. Homeschooling. So yeah, let's incorporate Pluto into the transit, or not into the transit, excuse me. Let's incorporate the transit of Pluto in Aquarius and plug it into your natal chart, in that it's going to be activated with this full moon in Scorpio.
Okay, so when you say plug in, are we looking at where Aquarius is in the natal, or are we going to the 6th house, or
We're looking at where Pluto
Pluto?
at its degree and arc minute in Aquarius are. We're going to plug that into your natal chart and see how the dynamics are influenced. What are some of the potentials of the interpretation that could potentially be that you experience um, with this full moon energy?
Um, for sure, I wanted to add with 18 degrees and Pluto 30. Let me go look at the other chart really quickly. Me and my daughter are going to do a 7-day liquid fast together. We're starting today, actually.
Awesome.
Um, I'm just going back to the chart, excuse me. Um, I think it's about to be a highlight of how we're going to start celebrating because she's transitioning not only from what happened with the death, but she's going into my 34 solar return with me, as well as the day after my birthday, she's getting out of school. She had a conversation with me today about wanting to have her best friend and going back to school next year, concerns about where we're living. Um, we've also talked about her form of creativity, wanting to start her own kids TikTok and YouTube. I don't know if I'm ready for all of those things yet, but she's definitely ready. She's been creating and drawing and talking as if she's doing a live like we're doing right now. But she's going through a few different dispositions. I think what I'm learning is how to allow her the opportunity to explore those things. Um, but I'm a mom, so I'm going to be protective, you know. With the Aquarian aspect, I do from the transit chart to the natal chart, with it being in the sixth house and us focusing on more so our diet and our food. And then she's talking about school, and I'm working back on everyday life in class with you and under mentorship. Uh, I can definitely feel like our family member passing, our cousin passing, as an unexpected, abrupt, transformational change, which was an ending of a cycle to begin a new one within our generation. And is there anything else that I want to add? I don't have anything else to say, but while I was talking, I guess something just came across my airwaves to talk about the eighth house because the eighth house belongs to Scorpio. I'm under your teaching, so I'm just putting it out there. You direct me.
That's what I'm waiting for because Aquarius is your eighth house.
Right, right. Yeah, so that came and as I'm talking to you. Um
I'm so glad that that came now. So
okay.
Pluto and Aquarius in the eighth house, how would you interpret that? What comes up for you?
I a huge first thing that comes to mind for me is making money through other people, working with people, humanitarianism, transformation within my funds. This is going to be a death and a rebirth for me financially. Because I think I'm stepping out of a transit of karmic ties to my old feelings and connections with money, and now it's going to be regenerated miraculously somehow. Something's coming out of nowhere or somewhere, and I'm going to be being able to expand and make um, better financial decisions and more money through connecting with people and having and showing up as acts of service, not just receiving, but also having reciprocity and giving as well.
That was good. That was what I was gonna add. I wanna add also the full moon is coming up. It's in a couple hours, right?
Right.
And so the full moon activity happens on the day, but it also happens prior. The energy is there prior to the full moon, and the energy is still there after. And it essentially is for the 14 days after leading up to the new moon in Taurus or Gemini, excuse me, right? So I say all that to say that look at how you just experienced during um, the services with your family, how you were sharing resources.
I
You were sharing
definitely
your
did.
right? So notice how that shared resources and how it depleted your resources too. But you did that as a form of connection and there was a bonding with the sharing of resources.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So notice that piece. And it was for communication, what's your number, what's your email, like da da da. It was a little collaboration in that,
Yes.
right? And so like recognize that because those collaborations and those connections that you made are also worth and valuable. And so it would come
Transformational.
back to it's transformational, and it would also come back to you with joint finances and joint endeavors with some of your family members that you were able to connect with and that you work together and communicate to come up with a common goal for whatever business practices you put together. You know what I'm
Oh yeah.
saying?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's awesome.
But I do think
Um
that the universe is showing up in different ways because when we were doing the karaoke and that night, one guy worked at the Secretary of State's office, which I'm working with trust, right? And a lot of our paperwork has to go to the Secretary of State and Attorney General. And then the other guy was in real estate, and I start talking to him about the trust and the bond and expressing that. And he was like, each one teach one, that he would actually do business with me as long as it's a exchange of information to help them learn how to maneuver within the system and operate in the private. So it was like it's been some great things. I wanted to just add that because a lot of people don't talk about trust, and trust has to do with death, assets, the beneficiary, and the transitioning not only for life but death. And this has a lot to do with the Aquarian aspect because I notice a lot of Aquarius talk about things like this. If not like this, then astrology or numerology, other types of sciences. But that was a huge shift for me to be like, oh, they understand what I'm talking about. This isn't their first time hearing it. And then I'm making connections with the work that I've been doing internally in home, and I step out and I'm able to connect with people who are in these positions that we can actually exchange information for the greater good of everybody. And they want to work with me.
awesome. That's awesome. Um is there anything else that you would like to or that you noticed in the astrological charting
Um,
for the full moon in Scorpio?
Let me see.
Or do you feel that from this from where we are now to the beginning of the conversation and before we met that you have a good understanding and are able to utilize and incorporate astrology into real life with yourself and your child and that there's some understanding with using astrology?
Yes, and I want to say I'm grateful to have you as a teacher. Um,
Mm,
the fact that I'm able to correlate one thing from the next, so like with Mars and Aries or Aquarius with Pluto, I mean the eighth house and where it is in my natal chart, I'm feeling very confident and I'm happy and grateful that something's clicking up there where it's staying and now we can flow instead of me just taking notes and writing everything down. Something's I'm getting it. So I feel happy about that. That's an accomplishment. I
awesome.
don't have anything that I wanted to add. I guess I wanted to ask you, Can you really talk about the aspect of Juno being so close to the moon? Um,
What? Say that again. Repeat that again.
the aspect of Juno being close to the moon in the full moon chart.
Okay.
Um,
Um, yeah, I'll talk about that in short because we have 6 minutes here.
okay.
Um, and I'm talking about it because it is connected to the full moon. I want to keep it on the topic of the full moon. I love this stuff, so I sometimes can talk for a long time. Anywho, uh, Juno is an asteroid, and you mentioning it, I've also been looking at it. Brings to mind how much I've been looking at it because it creates this aspect between Scorpio, Taurus, Pisces, and Virgo, incorporating the full moon, involving the sun and the moon, as well as with the north node and the south node. So Juno's like this fourth piece to a puzzle, if you will. And I've put in a couple of videos on my social media talking about this magical rectangle, if you will, or mystic triangle rectangle that's created with Juno being one of the four pieces. And so um, Juno is interpretation. One of its interpretations are meaningful relationships. So like the meaningful relationships that people have, that you have, that are occurring right now are something to hold on to, that there's some magnetic energetic to them in the good relationships as well as the bad relationships. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because they hold lessons, right? The fact that Juno is so close to the moon is significant, and it indicates to be able to see the difference between those that are good and for you and those that are not, right? But those
Mhm.
that are not good for you are also good for you because those are the ones that show you of what you need and what not to have. Either way, it's a win-win situation. And so it heightens your ability to determine and distinguish, you know what I mean, between that which is for you and that which is not for you. Are you being a little too desirous, right? Or are you using emotional control,
Mm.
right? Because if you look at how Juno being close to the moon is having a relationship with the sun as well as Uranus or Uranus, right? And so it's a volatile and or it's a sudden or unexpected, right? Meaning that you could come in contact with someone where it's like, oh wow, this looks like everything's going good, and then something happens or they do a certain action and it's like, oh, maybe this is not the best for me, right? So things are very charged and very magnetic. However, it's important to sit with yourself, right? And to assess the emotion internally to see if it's the best fit.
Yes, I definitely can resonate with that. The pause is essential for the clarity because
Right.
everything will be revealed in due time with what these connections are. Because a lot of times we try to say, oh, this person is this person, or put people in our life when we don't really know if they're here for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Um, we have to just appreciate the connection while they're here, to love them while they're here, positive or negative. Appreciate them for challenging you or triggering you so you can see where you are and where you need to grow. So, thank you for that. And I just want to know
Yeah.
my grade. What's my grade today?
Before I give you your grade, I you brought to mind the idea that I have been in ways of being where I would talk negatively about people that are in my life that I selected. And in this time of the full moon, it I am realizing in this time frame with this full moon in Scorpio that it's responsible and mature to acknowledge that the people that you talk negatively about, you probably shouldn't talk too negatively about them in that you have accepted them into your world. It's more of a looking and a scanning yourself to see why and how you can make that circumstance work or to mend it, blend it, even the score, whatever the case may be, clean up the side of the street because I am the one that selected that person.
Right.
So talking negatively about that person essentially is talking about myself because I'm the one that brought that in and allowed it. So it's a matter of learning what a meaningful relationship is. And before you dive and splash into the water, right, for the next relationship, whether financial reasons, attractiveness, or any of the above, that you assess that pause is essential. I was also thinking about how Taurus time of day is between 2 and 4 a.m. The time of the day for Scorpio is between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. Those are two still times. Between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. is when people usually hit like a wall. You don't die, but you're like, oh, you need some energy. I need a snack or I need a coffee or something to pick myself back up. Right? The same way that you go and get a snack is the same way that you to rest and to take that pause. Between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., you're in deep REM sleep. You're deep, right? To the world, right? So that rest, right? It's important to have that.
That pause and that reset so you can deliver yourself with clarity.
You see what I'm
Um,
saying?
I do want to make a statement really quickly before we do head out that what you pointed out is very essential. It sounded like accountability to me. The terminology of saying you pointing a finger at somebody when it's always three pointing back at you.
Mm,
And that's really how we consciously evolve when it comes to communication and connecting with other people. We're not just looking at them as they're an individual, but a reflection of ourselves. And what is this mirroring for us? You know, when you don't understand something, one of my favorite mantras is to just give gratitude and say, even though I don't understand what's going on, I'm grateful. Because the more that I say that, the more the universe switches things around to reveal things with clarity. Because I took that pause to like have that conversation with my higher self, with source, and to actually analyze and even if I don't agree with it, or what people are doing. And you have to be okay to detach because scorpionic and Taurus energy are so um I don't want to say obsessive, but like when they want you, they want you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when they want the food, they want the food. When they want it, like they're just like mine, ooh, I want to embody and take over your soul. So when you have a situation like that and that's being expressed and you're transforming your mind on how you're being aware of the people that are around you, it's just if it doesn't apply, then it's okay to let them fly away. It's okay to not like speak death upon people negatively. That's what I'm saying. And to allow yourself that grace. It's not just you giving them grace, but it's giving yourself that grace. It's giving your throat chakra that grace. It's giving your auric field and your energy that grace to constantly manifest things positive for people instead of being like, that person's always talking stuff about somebody. They run their mouth, they do this, they have their kids out here like that. You can be like, man, I'm so grateful to see how they handle things and to be able to acknowledge the way I choose to conduct myself. And you could send out energy that they are able to transform and grow because only source can activate them to that level of growth. It's nothing that you can say or you can do. You can be sent as a messenger, but it really takes a higher power to actually activate in them to channel and level up in their life. Just because you're leveling up in your life doesn't mean they're essentially on that wavelength that you're heading to. And you've been doing some phenomenal work, especially with your dieta and stuff like that. So, with all that being said, I digress. Mm-mm. But it
thank you
makes
so
sense.
much. Thank you so much for this share. I'll give you a B today.
Okay, a B is better than
Yep.
nothing. All right, cool.
Yep. All right.
All
I'll
right,
talk to you soon. We'll set up our next session.
all right. Peace and love, everybody. Thank you. Peace.